Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah, you're well, guys. So, we're going to talk about something a bit different today, and you can probably guess from the title of this video. And I wanted to cover this topic off because I was recently reading an article which sort of backed up my viewpoints, and also recently I've had a few queries come in where people have asked about how can we get into investment banking after completing the ACA or any appropriate programs. Now, for those of you who know me or have seen my responses to these questions, you'll know that I actually don't promote and would never ever go into investment banking as a career choice. But before I go into it and explain why that's the case, I just want to say, guys, this is my own opinion, and I appreciate you are free to take these opinions and do with them whatever you like. A lot of people will actually talk about investment banking in a positive manner. I just wanted to give you my viewpoint so that you can make an informed decision. So after watching this video, absolutely fine if you choose to ignore this information. Do what's best for you. So the first reason why I wouldn't go into investment banking is because I'm Muslim. And if you're non-Muslim and watching this video, feel free to skip this section, but I'd still recommend watching it because it will help increase your knowledge on this subject matter. So as you guys know, there are certain acts which are forbidden for Muslims, aka haram, and that includes gambling and drinking alcohol. And it's also forbidden to work in those industries as well. So Muslims can't work for an alcohol company or a gambling company. Another area which is forbidden for Muslims is interest, and that includes receiving interest or paying interest. And the opinion that I follow is that it's actually forbidden to work in the banking sector as a whole. And that's because a lot of the industry relies on interest-bearing products. If you think of a bank in general, your normal bank such as HSBC, they will offer bank accounts to customers. Again, those current accounts, they can incur interest or pay interest. Similarly with savings accounts, they may pay you interest as a customer. Forbidden for a Muslim. Credit cards, interest bearing. Mortgages, interest bearing. So a lot of finance products in general, if they have interest in the contract, are actually forbidden for Muslims. And equally, we also have to look at what banks do with our money. So they may give it out as a loan to a company, and if that company trades in forbidden activities, that's not right for a Muslim. Also, they may invest in a stock market. Well, what happens if they invest that money into a gambling company or an alcohol company? Again, that's forbidden. So you can understand why general practices in the banking industry aren't really appropriate for Muslims. But if we look at investment banking, in particular analysts, because that's a popular entry route for a lot of graduates into investment banking. What happens if you're presenting to a client on takeover options and you're analyzing the gambling industry? You're giving them an option to partake in or take over a forbidden company. As well as that, you could also be looking at debt financing options for a particular company. A lot of financing involves interest. Again, I've already said that's forbidden. So that puts you in a bit of a difficult situation. But again, guys, I just want to stress I'm not a person of knowledge. I haven't studied the religion for years on end like teachers have. I'm just regurgitating what experienced teachers have told me. So what I would recommend is if you are still interested in investment banking and want to find out more, go and speak to someone who does it, understand what they do as part of their day-to-day, and find out what are the potential problem areas, and then go to a person of knowledge and check with them. But for me, it's quite clear cut. If you're Muslim, then the banking industry in general is not appropriate for you because it is clearly forbidden. The second reason comes from my own personal opinion about the investment banking industry, which was backed up by a recent article that I read. So you may have come across this before, but this was where 13 US-based investment banking analysts at Goldman Sachs produced a survey on their working conditions, and they produced a PowerPoint presentation on this. So I'm going to leave a link in the description below. Make sure you check it out because it's a good read. The key points that I took from the presentation were, on average, they were working 98 hours a week, 98 hours, and they were sleeping for about 5 hours a night, and 100%. So every single one of those 13 analysts felt that because of their long working hours, their relationship with family and friends had been impacted. Now, 98 hours is absolutely ridiculous. It's more than twice what most people would work. And honestly, I don't even think I've done close to a 98-hour week ever. And even in the Big Four, if you did 9 till 11 p.m. in the Big Four, so 9 a.m. till 11 p.m. every day for 5 days, you're doing a 70-hour week. And I'm going to add on another 12 hours, say you do on the weekend. So you're doing 82 hours in total. These guys are still doing more than 15 hours on top of what you're working at the Big Four in busy season. And if we're being real for a minute, guys, you're not going to do 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. every single day at the Big Four. Chances are you'll probably leave at 5 on most days. However, you'll have maybe 2 or 3 months in the year where it is extremely busy and you'll have to do those longer hours. So on average, you're probably doing much less, say 40 to 50 hours a week. Now, a lot of you may say, agreed, Fazan, investment banking analysts do long hours. However, they are paid well for it. And honestly, they are. As an investment banking analyst, I think at Goldman Sachs, you can expect to earn around 80K base in your first year. And that is ridiculously high. And with bonuses, that can be well over six figures. I don't know any other industry that pays as well as that. If you do, comment below, let me know. But that is ridiculous. To earn six figures in your first year as an analyst is amazing. Let me tell you now, directors in accounting and finance with about 10 to 15 years experience will earn maybe less than 100K a year. It depends on the industry that you're in. But it does happen. There are some directors on about maybe 80 to 90K base plus a smaller bonus. So you can see that if you're actually comparing salaries, it's crazy. And this is now where I want to bring in my own experiences, where hopefully after listening to, you'll understand money isn't everything. So if you are thinking investment banking is a career for you, and that's because you're well compensated or you can earn a lot of money in a short amount of time, listen up. So when I started my apprenticeship at the NAO, I was 19 years old, and obviously I had a bit of a head start because I hadn't gone to university and I was building my professional career from an early age. So I went in with the mentality that I wanted to be the youngest ever CFO at the FTSE 100. Honestly, I wanted the image, I wanted the job title, I wanted the salary, I wanted the houses, I wanted the cars. But then I passed my ACA and I got the big pump that you normally get in pay. And honestly, I was underwhelmed. Don't get me wrong, I was extremely happy with the pay rise and I was happy that I was earning a lot more, and alhamdulillah, I appreciate my salary. But I found that actually, even though I'd received my pay rise, I always needed more. Suddenly I'd got more money, but my expenses had gone up. So the first thing you should take away is that even though six figures sounds a lot, which it is a lot. Once you've experienced that, you'll probably realize it's not enough and your expenses will go up accordingly. It sounds crazy, but it does happen. So at that point, that mindset of becoming CFO went out the window because part of it, well, I'd say a large part of it, was about earning the big bucks. So even though I had this pay rise, I was happy, alhamdulillah, I was grateful for it. I wouldn't give it up. But actually, I wasn't content. What made me content and happy was the fact that I was helping people get into apprenticeships, helping people get a new job, helping them with their CV, answering their questions. That gave me more contentness. And in recent years, I started volunteering some more. So I'd say in the past 2 years, I'm definitely taking on a lot more in terms of volunteering opportunities. But equally, I'm also realizing that my time is split. I'm married now. I've got a family. I can't commit that much time to volunteering as I'd like to because of other commitments. Sometimes I just reflect on that, guys, and I think in hindsight, it would have been great to have started volunteering more at the age of 22, 23, when my only commitment was passing these chartered accountancy exams. I guess what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way, guys, is there's more to life than just making money. And let's be honest, most people, if not all people, will go into investment banking for the compensation, for the package that they receive, for the bonuses. And I don't want you guys to go into this particular industry, earn the big bucks, and then realize, is this it? This isn't actually making me happy. So I just want to give you guys my opinion, but equally I respect it's your choice. So feel free to do what you like with this information. But before I go, I just wanted to cover off a response by Xavier Rollet. Hopefully I've said his name correct. I'll leave a link to the article that was written on his response in the description below. Definitely give it a read because he is very, very critical of the presentation by the US investment banking analysts. To be honest, he was quite critical of new recruits in general, and this person is a very well-respected banker. He was head of the London Stock Exchange for I think about 8 years, and I think he also began his career at Goldman Sachs. And he said that most recruits felt that they were entitled and that in his time they regularly did 130 plus hours a week, which again I think is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know how this guy functioned. He also talked about how single mothers who wanted to put many kids through education would also work 130 plus hours a week, and that was his way of justifying why new recruits shouldn't really be moaning about the industry. They should just shut up and get on with it. That's how I felt when I was reading the article. Now, there are certain points that I agree with. Firstly, the point around single working mothers. Yes, 100% I agree with that, because actually all parents, if you're a parent and you hold down a job, you're pretty much working for most of the week. The only time you're not is when you're sleeping. But I don't agree with the shut up and just get on with it approach. Mental health is a big taboo in many communities, especially black and ethnic minority communities. We don't talk about it. So when these analysts have come up with this presentation, that's their way of asking for help. And I don't think we should shut them up or they should stay quiet. Goldman Sachs should definitely listen to him help them, understand where their working conditions can be improved. But obviously, we've got to understand there's a balance to be had, because although you're working 98 hours a week, you're also being well remunerated for that. So is it a case of you cut down the hours, but then you take a cut in pay? I'm sure there's a lot of bankers out there that would disagree with that. The final point Xavier raised, which I agree with, I'd say 70%, is if you don't like your role, just leave. No one's forcing you to stay. And I agree with that. If you're not enjoying your role, if you're not feeling valued, if you don't like your manager, you should look to leave. However, I also believe there's a responsibility on companies to ensure that their working conditions aren't so bad, as identified by these analysts, that they struggle to retain employees going forward. But inshallah, I'll leave it there, guys. Let me know what you thought of my opinions. Agree with them? Disagree? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you guys. And as always, if you have any comments or questions or need some help, please feel free to comment below or message me on Instagram.